Hey guys, it's Kate, and I hope you're having a great day. I decided to break out my watercolors, and it's been a few days since I had an upload, so I wanted to relax, do some painting and doodling with some leaves and circles, which are my favorite. So hopefully you join me today and have some fun. I really wanted to just relax. Thanksgiving, if you celebrate it, it's such a busy holiday, and I don't know if any of you do the whole Black Friday thing, and I used to do that, but I can't get into it anymore. I just prefer the quiet. The traffic is always terrible, and just I don't know. People kind of seem mean out there in the stores, so we had a nice quiet Thanksgiving at home and had some turkey and a good time. But I broke out the Mei Liang watercolor palette today with a couple of round brushes, and I'm just sort of playing around with a little abstract. And I wanted to work with blue and purple today, so that's what I did. And I'm just kind of playing around, enjoying just the water interaction. I really love how the colors just move when you drop them onto the page, and it's just a lot of fun to do. And I always seem to gravitate toward it, even though I like to do a lot of different things. So it's just always a pleasure. And it seems like I tend to go toward the same colors too. I'm trying to do more variety, so I'm not just always doing the same, few colors, but I definitely have my favorites, and I hope that you enjoy these videos that I post. So I'm kind of going with some just sort of random, blobby kind of shapes on the page. I'm not trying to cover the whole thing. I'm sort of enjoying the white space that's around the colors, but I am just dropping in those blues and purples, and I really like how they kind of blend together around the edges. And even where there's some more texture, where it had dried just a little bit before the bloom kind of happened, and that center spot, that happens sometimes when you use a little too much water, which when I dipped into that purple, I didn't blot my brush enough. But I actually don't mind that. I really like some of the texture that you get. So if it's something that you're going for, definitely enjoy it. And you get that on some kinds of watercolor paper too. It's really sort of your market may vary, because everybody has their preference, and it's just fun to experiment. And I'm just kind of going around with my paintbrush, finding some places to drop in that color, and it's just so mesmerizing when it's mixing in with the rest of the paint. So I'm just kind of doing it all over the place. At this point, I'm not sure what I wanted to make. I wanted to definitely doodle. I actually picked up some colored pencils. I don't know, since I did that Derwent watercolor pencil video, I've just been really wanting to experiment more with colored pencils. So I broke those out today. I had my Posca pen that I broke out today, and a fine liner, and my my metallic marker. So I just kind of played around with a few different things, but I really like doing that with supplies, just because you never know what'll happen. And I have to say, I am really falling in love with colored pencils, watercolor pencils, just sort of experimenting with them and making different marks. Even the other day I broke out, I have this little box kind of full of just Crayola stuff. And so I even broke out some Crayola, and I was just sort of playing around in my sketchbook. And it's just such a nice way to experiment. Because I have to say, it's a lot of fun to just relax and let go and not worry about things so much. And when the day's been long and you come home at the end of it and you just want something to just put your mind at ease and take your mind off of things that might be going on in real life. It's just, art's been a real lifesaver that way. And I don't know if any of you might feel that way too, or if you kind of use it as an escape or relaxation. It's just been something that I've found that does that, and I sometimes have to force myself to get up and do it. I know once I sit down and start, I'll really enjoy myself, and sometimes the challenge is just getting started, and I just have to kind of overcome that part because it seems like we sometimes don't do what's good for us or we're resistant for some reason. And I'm not sure why that is. There might be some psychologist out there that has all the answers. And I also apologize if you can hear a lot of traffic noise in the background. It's something that, if it's a busy day, I live near a highway, so it's just something that's sort of in the background all the time. So hopefully it doesn't come through too much on my voiceovers. I actually had recorded this and decided to do a voiceover later, just to try to avoid some of the noise, but it never stopped. We're into the evening now and it's still going strong, and I think it's all that leftover holiday traffic. So on this second piece, I did just a wash with different colors. I used the same purple and blue, and I just kind of alternated going down the page, and I'm using my brush to blot off the bottom where I had just the excess water kind of drip down, and I wanted to hold it at an angle so that the water would flow a little bit better. And so now I'm going to be going in with my Posca pen, and I tell you what, my different white writing utensils, I have such a love and hate relationship with them. This Posca pen, for some reason, just did not want to write very strongly, so I ended up going to the Uniball, which usually is the pen that gives me a hard time, and this time it actually worked beautifully. So I end up putting this aside and getting my Uniball pen, which did much better. But I started on some leaves, and I really wanted to get a little bit of contrast with the background and some of the areas of the blue and the really sort of light color of purple toward the center. I wanted to also get some contrast there too, so I'll add a little bit of color later, but I wanted to keep it a little on the light side, and I really, really loved how this one turned out. So you can see me going back in with the the Uniball, and going over some of my Posca pen lines. And I had put a couple little ripples in a couple of those leaves just to kind of give the impression that they might be sort of a side view or folded on itself. And I kind of liked that too. Just that little variation in shape. And to me, it added a little bit of interest. And then I decided to put some lines and veins in the leaves, because I was thinking, well, somebody might not really know that I meant to put in those little ripples. So I figured if I add the veins, everybody will understand. And I'm just sort of enjoying the process and having a good time. I've also been playing around with my acrylics a little bit, so I've got a couple of videos in the pipeline, and I've been making a few posts on my community page, just kind of checking it out a little bit. I don't know if a lot of people really look there or not, but if you want to go check it out, just visit my page and click on the community tab. I want to try to do some more updates and stuff on there, and like to do, I would like to do more little polls and stuff just to see what people's thoughts are on some of my uploads and if there's things that you'd like to see more of that I do, or if you have any questions. And tips I always love. So I was kind of sitting there thinking to myself, and I wanted to do one more little leaf group down there in the bottom right hand corner. So I just added a couple of more there, and then I'm going to go in with the color. And I love how that purple and blue blended in the background. I just love that sort of pastel-y look. And just the lines going across the page. Keep it simple. I mean, it's so easy to do this, and you can just relax and doodle some shapes and just have fun with it. I mean, I'm about to be going into my leaves and painting them pinkish peachy colors, and or not painting colored pencil, but making them pink, and there's not a whole lot of pink leaves out there, I guess. So but I just wanted to be a little bit different, and you can do anything you want to. It's your page, and you should just enjoy yourself and enjoy the process. And that's what I always do. Even if I don't like the final outcome of something, which, if I'm being completely honest, I had a trio that turned to a duo, but I ended up using the third one, and I was just, I don't know, basically splashing a bunch of stuff on there and trying some things, and it was just a big old mess. So I figured nobody would want to see that one. Now, if y'all want to see a big old mess, I'd be happy to post it, but I'm just going to assume that I should just post the ones that I want to share. So I'm going in, I had done the sort of folded parts with a different color, and I'm coming in with a little bit lighter peach for the rest of the leaves. And so I was just trying to add a little bit more differentiation. Differentiation, is that the word? It's a big one, but I wanted to make it look a little bit more different. So I'm just kind of going in and shading, and as they started to color in, they just started sort of coming alive on the page and popping out, and the coolness of the colors in the background, at least they seem cool to me, that in the warmth of that peach, it just really looks nice to me, and it's just that little bit of extra contrast and almost like shading or bringing out the leaves, and it just popped off the page, and I loved the effect. And this is why I'm falling in love with those colored pencils and watercolor pencils. I just want to throw everything aside and just do those, but I've really enjoyed them with watercolor. And it just opens up a new world, because one of the things with like the Posca pens and the fine liners and things like that, you're pretty much, you got your solid line. And while I really love that, I like being able to make those really soft shading marks with the pencil. And I just hadn't really thought to use them, which seems silly, but that's how it went. So I'm going back in with my white Uniball. I wanted to thicken up the outside of the leaves a little bit more and just add more of that white around the edges. So I'm just kind of going in and making some sort of sketchy, thick marks around the edges, not really, trying to be too precious with it, because I enjoy the doodly look. So that doesn't bother me any, and I'm just doing it for fun. So I actually like the kind of rough look, especially on something so delicate and curvy. I'm just finishing that up. And I'm doing this real time just so that I have more time to chat with you and you can follow along if you want to and just doodle and watercolor with me. But it's been really enjoyable to do this tonight, and I'm glad I sat down and got a video up. I'm going to go back to my every 3-day upload schedule again, so there won't be as long of a gap. Not even that a week is that long, but it just feels like a long time for me. And so I'm going in with my circles because you guys know how I love my circles and my bubbles and my dots. So I'm doing a combination of all three of those. And I really like how it looked on the darker purple toward the top. And I'm not putting them all over the page. I'm just kind of sticking toward the top quarter to a third of the page. And I'm varying the size of my dots so that there's a little bit of variety there. And then I was kind of sitting there looking at it after I finished, and I was thinking, well, it's kind of bare on the bottom. So I decided to go in and put a few dots down there as well. But first, I actually forgot about this part, is I went in with my pink Posca pen and I went just a little bit of sort of a dashed line around the right side of the leaves, almost like a little drop shadow or something. I was just kind of playing around with it, and I was keeping it light, but just adding that extra little detail. And I don't know what was up with the white Posca pen tonight. It seemed that when I was writing with it, it was just sort of soaking into the page instead of staying on top and pretty opaque like it usually does. That was an interesting thing. So now I'm going back in with the dots and we'll finish up this doodle. Now for the second one, I broke out the gold metallic marker. I got this at Hobby Lobby and I really enjoyed using it. It's got kind of a thicker bullet tip, and I enjoy that for doing these sort of larger circles. I don't know why, I just love them, and it seemed to be the perfect place with all that white space over to the right. And I almost made, like, I don't know, just not a frame because it's just one line of them, but just that little border there. And then I wanted to do some circles in the middle, and I didn't really have anything on hand right next to me except for my little water spray bottle that I use on my watercolor palettes. So I went ahead and traced around that. And I was trying to make it so my focus didn't mess up on the camera, because a lot of times when I have my hands kind of farther away from the page, it kind of makes the background go blurry. So I ended up just biting the bullet and getting it done. And surprisingly, the focus stayed okay, so I was happy about that. But I'm just going around there with kind of a light touch. My marker, I ended up needing to kind of press out some more of the paint that was inside of it. It was starting to kind of, the tip was a little bit dry, so I went over to the side and just got some some more ink flowing or paint flowing, I guess you could say. And I'm putting 2 or 3 more dots over on the left side just to add that circle and that border to another part of the page. But I only put 3 there. And I'm just going over with the fresh ink to make it a little bit darker. And it's kind of hard to see on camera, but it's a very sparkly paint marker and it's permanent. It doesn't move with water, which I really like. So it's really a pleasure to use. And it was, I think I got that at Hobby Lobby, and I even did a video on it, I think. And now I'm going in with my fine liner. And I wanted to add some black. This one I kind of went nuts with the mark making, but I really love how it turned out. So I started out with the sort of fine tip, but then I grabbed this other one that has more of a chisel tip. And so I wanted to do these little sort of long rectangle boxes, and that made that a lot easier. I'm just kind of getting the hang of using it. I actually just got that, and I'm just getting the hang of the angle that I need to have. And it's kind of awkward because I'm trying to show it on camera, but I end up turning my page a little bit. And just going on up the page, adding that contrast and just little mark making shapes and having some fun. It's seems like when I really start to relax after I've been doing things for a little while, I end up liking what I make a lot better. Kind of like that sketchy flower video I made with the Derwent colored pencils, and I just was going fast and tried not to care so much where I was putting my marks and making them very sketchy and doodly. And it was one of the favorite things I've made lately. And it was a lot of fun, just sort of throwing caution to the wind. It's risky behavior with writing utensils and watercolors. But I think I'm finding a new love for the pencils in general. Where have they been all my life? I don't know. And the sad thing is I've had them for a really long time and I just never used them. Who does that? People need to use their supplies, and I include myself in that because they're supposed to be enjoyed. And I feel like I've missed out for not using them so long. So I'm putting in some little marks with the fine liner. And like I said, just having a good time, just marking up that page. And I really love how the watercolor dried there. It's just so pretty. And the colors blend together so nicely with that Mei palette. And I mean, really, I've been happy with the Komorebi palette too. I need to break that out again. And I just enjoy using it a lot. So I'm going in with my Uniball again. I gave up on the Posca, so I decided I would just stick with the pen. So I'm making surprise some more leaves. Go figure. But I'm making these ones very, very long, so they're different. So I'm going in with the Posca, or I keep wanting to say Posca pen. I don't know why. The Uniball, and I really wanted to just color these in and make them pop out from the background. And I actually really like how that turned out because it left sort of those scribbly marks. It's hard to color things in completely with that Uniball because it's just such a I don't know, it's such a fine gel liquid, I guess you could say. I'm not really sure how to describe it, but it sort of moves around if you color over it again. And I really liked the texture that it did. So I just went over those leaves, and the contrast on the darker paint in the background was really nice. And it sort of gave me a focal point, you know, in front of all of those marks I was making in the background. And I think that's really all that I needed to have, was a focal point for this to stand out from all the rest of the doodles. So I decided to do a couple more leaves kind of coming off to the sides, just to kind of fill it out a little bit more once I actually got a good look at it and decided how I wanted to finish it up. And so I really like having it come up from the bottom and just sort of spread out and get wavy and reach toward the sky. And then, surprise again, I came in with a colored pencil. And I mean, watch how this happens. It's just amazing what a pencil can do. It's just such a soft color. I chose a darker blue, and I'm just going around the outside, and it just makes those white leaves just pop off of the background. It's incredible. It's like using a drop shadow or something in Photoshop or some other software. And it's just, I don't know. It was magical. It was a magical experience. And who'd have thunk someone would say magical experience with a colored pencil? I don't know. But it was. And it's just, I don't know. I'm sitting here doing my voiceover, watching myself go over this with pencil, and I'm just like, man, that is chef's kiss. It's wonderful. So I'm finishing up with this pencil and the drop shadow, but I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you joined me in creating this or something else that you enjoy. And until next time, keep creating.